What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Killzone Shadow Fall. Alright guys, now you know what? I think I just might as well make this a 3-part series, right? And I might just title it Just Another Day of Killzone Shadow Fall. And you want to know why? Now, the last 2 videos, basically, I really didn't intend to run out of the topic, right? By the time of the video had ended, I really didn't intend for that to happen, but that happened twice, right? So this is going to be the last video, right? And this is basically going to be a 3-part series, because if you guys notice, I'm basically going to pick up where I left off at each particular video. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention to what I'm doing, and then goes right back to what I was talking about initiative. Now we're doing capture and hold. If I want my team to be more likely to win, why don't these support guys take the initiative to do something like that? Because in other words, I already know that the opposition is going to try to come and capture that point. But guess what? Since I have a spawn beacon there, more than likely people are going to spawn in at least that location. And the reason why I say at least that location is because if there are other spawn beacons around, then guess what? They can cover some of these other points. Like case in point, in capture and hold, there's 3 objectives. There's A, there's B, and there's C. If you guys notice, I went on ahead and dropped my spawn beacon in A. And actually, this just really goes back to why I can't wait till we get the clan system. Because you'll get more people thinking and not being tunnel visioned. So in other words, I dropped one at A. And even if they attack it, if some of the teammates, if all of them knew that, hey dudes, right before you hurry up and spawn in, make sure you pay attention to that map, because I have a spawn beacon at A. So where you see that spawn beacon location near A, go ahead and spawn in at that point. Especially if you guys see in that, like those objectives are starting to turn direction. All right, because keep in mind, with my spawn beacon, and if you guys notice the reticle and the right D-pad location, it's still there. Like they didn't even destroy it. Well, actually now it's destroyed. Okay, so I might have to set one up. But it just goes back to what I was saying. A lot of these guys are not thinking outside the box. And actually, I can't even say it outside of the box. It should be inside of the box. Because in other words, when that's your primary, actually it's not a primary ability, but when you make that as a priority, that's how you should be thinking. Okay, how can I benefit a team? Okay, this is the capture and hold mission. I might want to drop a spawn beacon somewhere at or near this capture and hold point. So at least when my teammates die, we're more likely to capture these points again, because we're spawning in right in there. Now, if you guys notice, I'm starting off with the spawn beacons. Right, but now that I have dropped it, you guys notice I switched off to the ground support turrets. And guess what? My spawn beacon doesn't disappear. And look at me. I'm right back at the objective. I'm right back at it attacking. You guys notice that? See, that's the benefit to the support class and how it is a benefit to the team, because not only do I have a spawn beacon at Charlie, I've laid some protection at Charlie. You guys see my my ground support turret. So when these guys are approaching from the far end direction, they might not even expect to see that ground support turret there. And as long as that ground support turret is there, at least we can kind of fight a few of these guys off, at least until reinforcements come in. Now actually, that was a nice little move he did there, and I kind of do it myself. For a lot of these guys, a lot of times you can kind of get up under the fires of these ground support turrets. And if you guys notice, why did I pick it up? Because it's time to move to the next objective. And with us moving to the next objective, there's no need for me to waste a ground support turret in an area that we are not at. So we're switching off to search and attack defend, right? And if you guys notice what I'm going to do, pick up my spawn beacon. Why am I picking up my spawn beacon? Because we don't need to be spawning in that area anymore, because we have switched missions. You see, you don't have to be a brainiac to figure this stuff out. All you have to do is not be tunnel vision. Now I'm going to sit here, drop my ground support turret, I mean, not ground support turret. You guys know what I'm talking about. Drop my spawn beacon at the new location, because now we need the team to spawn in to protect these objectives. So I'm going to go ahead and deactivate. What is that? Is that A or B? Where am I? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and deactivate B. All right, so I got a teammate right here. Go ahead and lay a ground support turret there. So at least with us having a ground support turret here and a spawn beacon, right? If you just need to go off to the other objective because you see they're attacking it hard, you can. But then again, you don't even necessarily have to do that now. If you guys notice, we have a scout at our back door, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to, and there he is, pesky scout. And you can always tell because you can see that white aura right there. All right, so I'll take care of them. So, you know, seeing that one scout is there, I don't know if they're coming from both sides, because these guys are definitely attacking. They're attacking A. And keep in mind, fellas, you know, if you guys are playing this game, especially with search and destroy defend, you don't necessarily have to defend both points. Like, in other words, if you see that one target is going to be destroyed, let it go and pick up all of your resources, pick up all of your ground support, pick up all of your spawn beacons and place them at the new location, because all you need to do is to be able to defend 1 point. Because think about it, in order for your opposition to win that mission, they have to explode both points. So even if they explode one, now keep in mind, you guys notice they're going to go ahead and explode A. So A is gone. A is gone. So now that A is gone, the whole team needs to be either at or surrounding objective B. All right, because if you guys notice, looks like it's me and, am I by myself at this point? I think I'm not by myself at this point, but at least I have a spawn beacon down. So if the team is paying attention, they should say, all right, and okay, and it looks like they're slowly starting to filter in. But we need to get reinforcement in here like ASAP. And that's like one of the benefits to not only having ground support, not only having spawn beacons there, but at least a team who is paying attention and not just hurrying up and spawning in, at least paying attention and saying, okay, so we have a spawn beacon over at B, A is exploded, so any other spawn beacons that are around, that are not around B, I don't need to spawn in at those locations. Right, and this is like one of the benefits to doing videos with commentary, right? Because I can kind of understand that some people, like, they may not even be paying attention, like, kind of out of no fault of their own, but then when they watch material, and like if you guys notice, I don't know if you see, but over in the yellow, those 2 yellow points, those are 2 spawn beacons. Now, so we have good placements. We have one where I dropped, and we have one in that stairwell. Now that one in the stairwell, I don't really know, because the hell gas can approach from that point. And if they approach from that point where they can clearly see a spawn beacon, they might destroy it. So that's why I kind of have mine back in the corner, because that means they would have to get all the way down the stairs to be able to destroy it. Now, it's possible. Of course it's possible. But at least it's a little more difficult to get to that one than the ones up on the stairwell. Right? Because like I said before, if they just so happen to approach, they don't even have to come all the way down the stairs. They could just point their gun and say, holy shit, there's a spawn beacon. Let me just go ahead and shoot it, or throw a grenade there, right? And as long as I shoot it or throw a grenade, I can destroy it. And that's one less spawn beacon that I have to worry about. But it looks like this team is not flanking. You know, one thing about me, if I notice, like, case in point, we're giving these guys a hard time because they're all just approaching from one end. Why are they doing that? I don't know. But guess what? I don't care either, because my team is doing well and we're defending it rather good. Uh-oh. Okay, I got lucky. I thought he had a shotgun right there. And it looks like the objective is over. All right, so the start of this video was supposed to pick up from, okay, so that's what I was talking about at the end of the last video. So for a lot of you Dark Souls guys, that's what we're talking about. For a lot of you Dark Souls guys, listen, I get comments all the time of people asking me, dude, when are you going to do more Dark Souls videos? Well, like I was saying at the end of the last video, you know, I've been doing Dark Souls for so long. and uploading so many videos. Like, there's nothing else for me to talk about. And I think that's something that I talked about in my channel update. There's nothing else for me to talk about. So this is why I often will leave those replies saying, dude, I mean, I'll be back in March. Because in March, we'll have a new game. And actually, you know, March is really, you know, that's really going to be a trying month. Because not only will Dark Souls 2 be out, but there'll be some other good PS4 games that I also want to play and upload. So March is going to be a busy month for me. And actually, I can't even say a busy month. I'm going to say it's going to be a busy few months, right? Because not only March, but I do plan on playing some of those games, you know, at least more than a few weeks, right? So I'm going to be occupied with Dark Souls 2, and I'll be occupied with some of the other games that I'm really interested in coming out for the PS4. Now, with regard to Dark Souls 2, you know, the thing with Dark Souls 2, you know, some people have been asking me, you know, why don't you do a walkthrough? And I'm not going to talk too much about Dark Souls 2 because this is not even Dark Souls. This is not even a Dark Souls related video. But since I have so many subscribers who watch my videos for Dark Souls, I'm just going to touch on it real quick, and then I'm going to go right back to the Killzone Shadow Fall. The thing is, my focus has always been on PvP, right? So I might just go ahead and do a walkthrough, a live walkthrough, so everybody can watch me. You know, they can clown on me getting killed and clobbered with the PvE. But I'm going to head right back full force into the battle of the builds and everything else, because I think it would be perfect for people to see a little imagination with a lot of different builds, seeing that the game is new, seeing that we'll have a lot of new options, a lot more rings, a lot more magics, a lot more everything. All right, so I'll be just stick in there. March is almost here, and I'll go ahead and go full force back into it with the Dark Souls videos. But like I said, my time will definitely be split because there are other games on the PS4 that I'm really interested in. All right, so I haven't abandoned Dark Souls. I'm just pretty much done with the original because there's really nothing else for me to talk about, nothing else for me to showcase, because I think I've pretty much showcased pretty much everything that I can showcase in Dark Souls. All right, so enough about the Dark Souls videos. So looks like we're doing capture and move. Now, capture and move is so difficult, right? And I'm not saying it's difficult because, you know, I mean, well, let me put it this way. The difficult thing about capture and move is that if you don't have several spawn beacons out in sporadic places, it could be difficult for you to catch the objective in time. Like, in other words, they'll throw out several random points that you have to capture. Like in other words, it's almost like capture and hold. But the thing is, once you capture it and you hold it for you know, a couple minutes, the point moves. Right, so in other words, there will be 2 capture and move points near your base, and then there will be 2 capture and move points at the opposing base. So, I mean, let's just say, and actually they don't do it in any given order. So in other words, they can do 2 at your locations, you know, back to back, and then 2 back to back at the other location. Or they can do, you know, 1 at your location, 1 at the opposite team's location, another at the opposite team's location, and then the last one at your location. So, I mean, it's just pretty random. And if you guys notice, like, this is a super war zone right here. Like, it is so hectic of all the action that is going on right here. And this is really one thing that I love about Killzone, right? We have these war zones going on. You know, there's not as boring as team deathmatch where you just sit around and everyone's paranoid about dying. No, because in other words, if you try to sit back and be paranoid during these war zones, dude, you are bound to lose. And that's one thing that I was talking about in a few videos. I think the videos that I uploaded last week when we were talking about, look, kill death ratios don't matter. Like, in other words, yes, it's important. It's fancy for people to look at. I mean, it's a good thing to pride yourself after. It's a good stat. It's a good statistic and all of that. But at the end of the day, at least with me, and I know some of you pros will probably say, oh, you know, people who don't have a great kill zone, people who are not as great will always say that, right? If their kill-death ratios are not that high, that's always their excuse. Well, not really, right? Because anyone who played with me will know how I play as a team. And actually, as far as I'm concerned, as long as the team does well, like, I'm good with it. Like, in other words, there are times when, like, I do well as an individual, but the team doesn't do well. And guess what? I'm kind of dissatisfied with the match. Because I always think to myself, like, okay, yeah, I did good. Okay, yeah, I may be number one. You know, yeah, I may have the most points. Okay, but our team should have won. That's really how I approach this game. Right? At the end of the day, as long as our team wins, I feel good. And, you know, sometimes you get in one of those things where you're playing against a really good group and you guys are just kind of going neck and neck. Like, as a matter of fact, I remember the other day I was playing an extended Warzone and I think we went 4-4, right? Like, in other words, there's a total of 8 mission types. And, like, we went ahead, and that was the first time I ever experienced a draw in an extended Warzone, like straight up 4-4. So that lets you know the competition was really stiff, and it was a really good map. All right, so enough about that. So what are we doing right now? Beacon theft. So, you know, in the event that you guys may not be familiar, beacon theft, and that guy with that Judas, I don't know. Apparently there's some type of Judas flashlight glitch. And I'm going to have to read up on it. But whenever I use that Judas, like, I don't kill as easily as I get killed. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this Guapo is back guy. Like, he kills me several times with that Judas. And, like, in some of the cases, like, he's not right dead up on me. Like, I do know that if you're dead up on your opponent, they will die. But there was a few times where, like, he wasn't even, like, right in my face and I died. Like, right there. Like, he wasn't right up in my face, but somehow I died from it. And speaking of Judas, I actually need to get some more kills because I think I need 100 kills with that weapon. And then I would have had maxed out the support class weapons unlocks. So I really need to work on that. Alright, so that guy's just flamed me with the voltage. And like I said before, that's one of those weapons that obviously other people are good at using, but I have a hard time using that that voltage. Oh God, pesky spider. Alright, go ahead, pick up Titan Fitness. And guess what I'm going to do? Well, obviously I'm going to die right there, right? But if you guys notice, now that I have my spawn beacon up, and I don't think they tore it down. And they did tear it down. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find another location. And see, that's another thing that you need to pay attention to as a support guy. Not only do you need to worry about your spawn beacon locations, but you might also want to make sure, like you also want to monitor it, like when they may have destroyed it, when it may have been deactivated, right? Because in other words, if you're not up on that, you could go without a good tactical spawn point, which could hinder your team. Because if you guys notice, as soon as I saw that they destroyed mine, I said, you know what? They just destroyed mine. Let me just go ahead and select that ability again, and then I'll be good to go. And now what am I going to do? Ground support turret. Why am I going to get ground support turret? Because these guys are fighting this area really hard, right? So I have the spawn beacon right at the bottom, and I have the ground support turret right here for reinforcements. You see, you have to think a little bit. You can't be a brain dead team deathmatch guy with these war zones, because if you're not thinking, if you're not using all of your abilities, and I'm speaking especially from the support class standpoint, because hey, I play support class the most. Now these assault guys, all they have to do is go ahead and engage the objectives. Either they engage them or defend them, right? So I mean that's pretty much all they have to do. And actually we can't lose as long as they are either engaging it on the offensive side. You guys notice, taking down their spawn beacon. Right, so now they're going to try a little harder, and they're going to have to. Of course they're going to have to, because now they're going to have to run all the way from their base. So hopefully I have one of those guys that are not really paying attention to their spawn beacons, right? Because if they're not really paying attention, we might have at least a few minutes to where we can gain some ground. And you guys notice we're still at beacon theft, and that assault guy is trying to do a good job defending his point. And actually it might be a little more effective if they had a few more assault guys at least probably running around that area, looking around for spawn beacons to destroy them. Right, and this is why I say you can't be so tunnel vision to where you only focus on getting kills. Because if you only focus on getting kills, your team could gain more ground because they're focusing on how to better win the objectives. Right, so this is why I always say there's a big difference between concentrating on kills and concentrating on the objectives. And I know I say that in a lot of videos, right? And the main reason why I say that is because if it was just that obvious that in these experiences, because it's not just me, right? I talk to other people and they say the same thing, like, dude, I don't see why it's so difficult for people to understand these basic concepts. And I think it's because there are some first-person shooters out there that only focus on individual gameplay. Now, if you guys notice, I got my ground support turret. Come on, dude, before I die in this petrosite. And unfortunately, I did. That's another thing that kind of annoys me sometime in this game. Like, it's kind of easy for you to get caught on rocks, boulders, terrain, and teammates. Right? Like, it's not uncommon for you to get stuck on terrain or teammates in this game. And sometimes it can be frustrating, especially when you can feel yourself getting shot in the back and you're trying to escape and you have like 3 or 4 guys right there and you can't escape, so you end up dying. Alright, so if you guys notice, as soon as I saw that we captured C, there's no reason for me to sit there and stay at C. And actually we have a good assault over here. And you guys notice the teams are filtering in, right? So this is why I say you cannot get preoccupied with staying at firefights. Because staying at firefights will not necessarily, you guys notice how quickly we captured that point? And you want to know why? Because, well, actually, let me kind of take that back. Because in all fairness, the opposite team could have they could have done something else. If it was more of them attacking C than it was us attacking B, we wouldn't have been able to capture B. The only reason why we were able to capture B was because it was more of us. And now we have more of them trying to defend E. So if you guys notice, they took down my first spawn beacon, so I had to come back around and I moved the second spawn beacon a little further to the rear. And I was having a hard time with that aiming. You know, sometimes the flash on this pulver is kind of blinding. You know, like I use it a lot so I can kind of deal with it, but sometimes it is kind of blinding. Especially on that Stova. You know, I really do not like the Stova. You know, the Stova, it's an LMG. You know, but I don't know. I really prefer the LMG. Like, here's another thing. Like, why do they bring us so far back? And I'm thinking they brought us so far back in the event that we lost D. So actually, I think that's a pretty good spawning location. And actually, what I would have done after I dropped that spawn beacon there is dropped a ground support turret there. So in the event that the opposition try to take that point, at least they're going to have to fight off some ground support turrets. But if you guys notice, that support guy destroyed that spawn beacon. Right? So that team, this particular match right here, it was a good fight. It was definitely a good fight because you had good players on our team and you had good players on the other team, and it was not easy. Now, you guys may see the 3-1 score, but it still wasn't easy. It was definitely difficult trying to fight through these guys because that team, they were focused, they had good shooters, and they had spawn beacons. They had guys who were destroying spawn beacons that made it a lot more difficult for us. Right? It made it a lot more difficult for us to push through. Alright, so enough about that. So it looks like we got another spawn beacon up. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use the air support turret. And actually, I really need to stick with that air support turret a lot more because I think that's the only support ability that I haven't maxed out. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw it over C. So in the event that they try to engage it, right, I'll have some above fires for them. And hopefully I'll be able to get a few kills. You guys noticed they just destroyed it. Alright, so you know, a lot of people will talk about how OP those air support turrets are, which, I mean, they can be OP because I kind of die for them pretty often, but at the same time, they're easy to destroy, especially whenever you have like a couple support guys rocking those missile attachments. Those missile attachments are very handy. And actually, whenever you're in areas like, let's just say here in the station, or let's just say the forest, and I'll say another, the wall. Those areas in particular, especially the forest, those guys spam the shit out of those air support drones in the forest. I mean, I remember one time I was on the map, like I literally died to more air support drones than anything else. Because they just spam. I mean, it was kind of like everybody ran support, and they just threw out as many air support drones as they could. And as long as we were steadily trying to defend against those air support drones, it was just easy for them to just go ahead and attack the objectives. Alright, so hey, it just is what it is. Everyone has different tactics, which makes this game so good and so fun when everyone plays their role, right? It makes for a lot more exciting war zones. Alright, so, dude, that's like 3 videos worth of rambling, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to go ahead and cut out with the commentary for this video, because that's 3 videos that basically just continued back to back. You know, in other words, I ran out of a topic at the end of one video, so I went on ahead and continued it to the next, and I just kept doing that. So guess what? I'm kind of out of things to talk about. So you guys got like, I don't know, 45 minutes worth of commentary from the brigade. Just a lot of random talks. So you guys can just go ahead and watch the rest of this particular video. I hope you guys enjoyed the 3 videos for this particular weekend. And hey, until next time, Martyrs Brigade is out.
Setting the revive.